folks. Welcome to Metal Wani. With us today, it's a very special tour. We have two drummers. One is a legend, and other is the guy who's gonna take the torch forward. That's right. We have legendary Mike Portnoy and his son Max Portnoy here. How are you doing, guys?
Good. I'm good.
Fantastic. Now, Max, first for you, just a week left for the release of the highly anticipated debut album, A Light in the Dark. Excited, nervous, what's happening in the band?
Currently, today actually, lyrics video came out for Blood in My Hands, which
Hmm.
is personally, in my opinion, one of my favorite songs on the album.
Hmm.
So I'm really happy that that one got released, and I think a lot of people are gonna like it. But the 29th, which is actually in a couple days, the album's gonna come out,
Right.
and we're gonna be playing a bunch of shows around here. Hopefully, a lot of people come out and enjoy the album. I'm super excited. The whole band is really excited, and we can't wait.
Ah, that's awesome. Now, the music of Next Gen's debut effort has many influences. I mean, there's the harder stuff that you bring in, and on the other side, you have some classic rock components, which I think comes via Holland. So this result is an interesting mixture of some sort of a metal cocktail, which is very entertaining. So, was there an intention to bring in different influences on your debut album?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we wanted to be a prog metal band since the start, I think. But
Hmm.
we also have all different types of influences. I mean, we all like, Dream Theater and Slipknot and those metal bands, but then we also like Shinedown and stuff. So we have a lot of rock influence as well. So there's a lot of kind of new metal stuff that we have. We have some screamo on the album, and but we also have super intricate like odd and signature stuff.
Hmm.
So it has a lot of elements to it as well, and there's even some rock stuff on it. So I think it's a really cool and unique album.
That's cool. Now, for you, I mean, ideally, as the band has started a few years back, and as 12 or 13-year-old kid, everyone wants to be a part of a rock band. But did you guys ever imagine that you're gonna be a prog band and gonna get signed to a label so early in your career? And I'm sure Mike is, thinking about this as well, because when he looks back, 30, 40 years and how the scene was at that time and how it's now, it's totally different.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to start a band with my friends, so that was always in my mind, and I always knew we were gonna like record an album, but I had no idea we were gonna get signed to a huge record label
Hmm.
this quickly in our lives and everything so early. So that was a big surprise, and it's really awesome, and I feel super lucky, and everyone else does in the band. So we're super grateful for all that. But I mean, we always had the intention of just getting together and writing music and playing shows. But the fact that we're getting this much attention and everything's happening to us so quickly, it's really awesome.
That's awesome. What about you, Mike? I mean, it might, kind of make you go back to those good old days of Majestic when, you guys were thinking about what the hell do we do, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, producing this album for the boys definitely brought me back to the early days of Dream Theater. It really reminded me of us recording when Dream of Day Unite back in
89.
1988, I guess, almost. No, it came out in 89. We recorded it in 88.
Mm-hmm.
Same way that these guys recorded this album in 2014, and now it's now coming out in 2015. So, anyway, but regardless of the facts, it actually reminded me a lot of that feeling and that camaraderie and that excitement. Except these guys are much younger. You know,
Right.
they recorded their debut album when they were 15 and 16 when Dream Theater recorded our debut album. We were, I don't know, 21 or 22, however we
Right.
were at that point. But the excitement, the camaraderie, the whole experience is very similar. And these guys really remind me of the way we were back in the early days of Dream Theater. It really was like a, a trip back in time for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, for you, Max, I mean, it would have been a natural process, just like how Mike was in the early days, inspiring, a lot, and growing up with him whenever he was writing new material with Dream Theater, it would have been an easy transformation for you to pick up and write some new stuff, which is reflecting on the debut album.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I was little, I've been torn with my dad, just watching him play and everything. And I've even been able to be at the studio maybe a couple times and watch him record some stuff. And I always got to hear like the demos whenever he came home. He would show us, he would show the family all the new stuff that they're writing. And I kind of got to see how it progressed. So I kind of had this natural knowledge, I guess, about the whole writing process and everything. So it was really natural for me just to write, and I just knew whatever sounded right. I mean, and I did that with all my friends and everything. So it came kind of natural for me, writing and everything. And my dad taught me a lot of stuff as well, just about how to be a professional musician. So it's really awesome to have a dad like him.
That's cool. Now, you guys have a potential to make it really big and to find a sound of your own, which the initial thing has already been laid when I talk about the new album. So it's been more than 6 months or a year since you guys recorded it. So slowly you guys might have kind of managed to get hold of things of what do you want to do in future. So when you talk about sound, how do you feel about it right now?
I really like the sound that we have right now. I think it's very unique, and I think I know that that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep with this sound. I mean, our EP that came out a couple of years ago, that's a completely different style, and we're not gonna go back to that. I don't think so. We're gonna keep doing with this prog metal stuff that we're doing, and we have like our own unique sound as well. So yeah.
I can add to that. As an outsider, just watching them develop and progress, I've said this before, but a couple of years in the life of teenagers is like dog years. Like the progress is from year to year is staggering. And if you listen to the Next to None EP and the progress from that to A Light in the Dark, they're almost a completely different band.
True.
And now, being that they recorded A Light in the Dark last summer, I'm hearing the stuff that they've been writing since, the new stuff that will ultimately end up on their next record. And even that is taking huge leaps in progress, just because they're developing so quickly at this age. But their style, they're obviously a prog band because they have these intricate time signatures and instrumental sections. But, more so than Dream Theater or Spock's Beard or the Flower Kings or even bands like Haken or whatever, because they're younger, they have a lot of newer, like new metal kind of modern contemporary influences. So you're hearing, you're hearing traditional Dream Theater type prog mixed with, like elements of Slipknot and Lamb of God. So it's kind of a whole new generation of prog, and the new stuff that they're writing is almost in the vein of like Between the Buried and Me and Periphery. It's this really intense, progressive, modern metal sound, and they're just developing so quickly and so rapidly, and it's just incredible to watch.
Absolutely. Now you, Mike, I'm sure you would have given him some feedback on his drum tone and patterns. I mean, what was your feedback when you heard the demos, which eventually made it to the album?
Well, I watched these songs develop because they would, Next to None rehearses in our house, and I've been hearing the songs being written and being developed and being rehearsed over the course of, many, many months. So by the time we got to the studio, the songs were already there. They had even played some of them live, like when they played on the Progressive Nation cruise or when they opened up for Adrenaline Mob. The songs were there already. So by the time we got to the studio, I didn't have to do much with the songs. They wrote them. They had the performances ready to go. I was just mainly there to help guide them through the technical side of being in the studio, because they hadn't done a full-length album in the studio yet. So I was mainly there to help them with the overdubbing process and the tracking and the scheduling and one thing I should mention, I've mentioned this in other interviews, but I should mention it to you as well. They did this album the old-fashioned way. We went to an outside studio, and we locked it out for a month, and they basically started, they recorded the album from start to finish as a band at a real studio. It wasn't like done in my basement or, tracks back and forth. They were able to have that real old-fashioned experience like I had doing the early Dream Theater albums, being together as a band in the studio from start to finish, 7 days a week, eating your meals together,
Yes.
everybody being there, everybody else tracked. So it really gave them that awesome experience that many young bands these days don't get to have anymore.
Absolutely right. Now, Max is definitely as technically proficient, of course, as you and still growing. But what propels the band into these heavy riffs is basically his drum tone, which easily sets up like those rhythmic shifts that characterize the instrumental breaks. So I'm just wondering how Max took it forward just to make sure that the fans don't call this band as just another Dream Theater band, but to something more than that. Like you said, they are the influences of Slipknot, Lamb of God.
Um, yeah, I didn't want to be a rip-off of anyone. I wanted us to have our unique sound, and I think we definitely got our unique
Hmm.
sound. So, I mean, like, drumming-wise, I just kind of did what sounded right and, like, what was kind of natural and just the music. I didn't want to do something that was completely random that just kind of stole the spotlight, I guess you can
Right.
say. So, I mean, like, we did that with every instrument, too. We want everything to go together and not just kind of stand out from each other, and I think that really makes everything sound good. And I mean, I have the influences from my dad, obviously, but I also have influences like Joey Jordison and Chris Adler. So my drumming is kind of like a mix between both of those, all three of those. And I mean, same with the music. Like I'm not solely listening to Dream Theater. I mean, I listen to everything else. So I have
Yeah.
a lot of influences from styles of bands and different songs and everything.
That's neat. And you guys played live. I mean, you've played this material live. So how did the fans respond? Because majority of it was played live, giving the 45-minute set which you guys played. So in terms of how the songs are set live, how's the vibe? How are the fans responding?
The fans were awesome. I mean, with the Haken tour, we played basically our entire album. I mean, we weren't able to fit every single song into the set time that we had, so we had to cut maybe like two or three songs. But we basically played our entire album for them, and they loved it, and they were super supportive and awesome about it. I mean, everyone was writing to us on like Twitter and Facebook after the show saying how awesome it was and how much they enjoyed it. And
Hmm.
I really appreciate it, and the whole band appreciates it because they weren't like I don't know. They were just super supportive about it, and they really enjoyed it. So I'm really glad that it went over well.
I I went on the Haken tour with them, and I was so proud watching them every night because
Absolutely.
I've seen them open up. I've seen them open up for my bands, the Winery Dogs and Federal Mob, and on Progressive Nation Cruise. But for me to watch them open another band,
Hmm.
and every night blew people away. I mean, everybody in the audience, you could see them just smiling and being blown away by how well these boys play it. They're only 16 or 17 years old,
Yeah.
and the things that they're doing on their instruments at this age is incredible. So I was so proud as a father to watch them play each and every night and make all these new fans. And I think that's what's going to happen once this album comes out. I think they're going to get past the people that are checking them out just because of the curiosity factor, whether because they're young or whether because Max is my son.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to start to really make waves on their own, and people will start to appreciate them for their own abilities and
Absolutely.
attributes.
Definitely, because for you, Max, I mean, I'm sure it must be normal for you, but it's kind of stupid when people ask you this question that how does it feel like to have a father like, Mike Portnoy? It must be pretty normal for you. I mean, just like a normal father and the son relationship. But then it kind of builds that pressure that, okay, I need to prove something that it's something I've done on my own, which kind of adds a lot of pressure to the band as well.
Yeah, I mean, I people always ask me the question like, what's it like to have like Mike Portnoy as your dad? But to me, he's just my dad. Like, I don't see anything weird about it because I've known him since I was born. So
Definitely.
I mean, he's just my. But I'm same with my friends too. I mean, I've known most of them since I was in first grade. So I mean, they've basically grown up knowing my parents too. So they don't really see him as Mike Portnoy either. They just kind of see him as Max's dad. So
Nice.
I mean, there's pressure. Like people are always gonna compare me to him, but I don't really mind. I mean, I I know it's going to happen eventually, but I don't see any pressure from it. I mean, I know people are going to compare us, but I don't really care. I think people will eventually like me as like my own person and not Mike Portnoy's son.
Definitely. You guys are going to create an image of your own for sure, keeping in mind the tours you guys are doing. So, what are the plans of taking this album live again? Because Hakken tour is done. So, what next?
Um, well, I mean, we're still trying to figure out what we're gonna do. I mean, we don't have like a tour kind of set yet, but I mean, I know we have a couple tours, shows coming up. We're definitely trying right now to get a tour that's like kind of around the area ish. Maybe like go out to like New York and places like that. So
Cool.
once the album comes out, that's what we're gonna try to do. But
And play some shows at Fates Warning in the fall.
yeah, we're Fates Warning. We're gonna be playing some shows,
Awesome.
but I mean now we're just gonna try and play some local shows to promote the album.
Sounds good. Now, Mike, you got to bring him to the India because you played with, with the Neil Moats here, I think in 2013 December. So it would be cool to see Next to None and the Dogs playing here in India.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved that show I did with Neil Morse in Bombay. It was an amazing experience. But, of my 25 years of touring and thousands of shows, that was my first time there. So, I would imagine, getting the Winery Dogs or Next to None there is probably, not as easy as it may seem. But of course, we would welcome the possibility of ever coming back. It was an amazing experience. And, I want to play everywhere and anywhere. And I know Next to None are the same. It's a matter of just getting the offers.
Definitely, because you guys played at Mood Indigo. So, in fact, I was having a chat with the organizer last week, and they were thinking of getting the Dogs this year or Steven Wilson. So, it might be you or Wilson coming in playing, December to 2015.
Well, I'm currently in 6 different bands right now, so I would happily return and play there with any of the 6. All we need is an offer, and I'm there.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, what's happening with the Dogs? You guys have, written the album, or you are writing and recording. So, what's the status? Any release or such planned this year?
We're almost done with the new album. Richie's finishing up his tracks at the moment, and the mixing begins next month, so we'll
Wow.
deliver the record to the label next month. And the tour is already scheduled to begin at the beginning of October in
Yes.
America. So that's the plan, is to have the album out in time for the tour starting in October. So that's the plan right now. And then once it comes out, we'll begin the tour cycle, which will likely, go well through 2016. And, we want to just play as many places as we can.
That's awesome. I look forward to see you guys, at least in India, if it's possible, happening this year, and to have Next to None, next few years come here and expand their fan base because eventually there's a brotherhood when it comes to prog, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah, it would be really awesome to go over there. I mean, right now I think we're only going to be playing in the U.S. because obviously we're not that big right now. But hopefully, once the album comes out, people all over the world will be enjoying it, and we'll be able to tour like to Europe and India and everywhere. Because that would be super cool. Because we love to travel, so we would have what's it called? We'd have no problem traveling and going across the world to play our shows because I think it would be a ton of fun,
Yeah.
and the fans would be really awesome over there.
That's awesome. Now, before I conclude the interview, how about you, Max, define Next to None's debut album, A Light in the Dark, in just one sentence?
Um, um, I think it's one of the most unique prog metal albums in a long time.
Wow, that's a solid
Yeah,
statement.
I mean,
Well, I mean, there's certainly one thing I'll say, and I hate to exploit the age factor,
Hmm.
but there's no way around it. You can't listen to this album and not take into consideration their age. And the fact of the matter is, You hear teenage metal bands, you hear teenage pop bands, you hear teenage rap artists. You can't, for the life of me, ever recall a teenage prog band.
Right.
And I think these kids are doing, stuff at their age that I've never heard other kids their age do. So I hate to exploit the age thing, and I hate to exploit the Portnoy thing,
Right.
but they're undeniable. It's undeniable. I've never heard teenagers play the way these guys are playing on this album.
Absolutely.
And that's me saying as the album producer, not as the drummer's dad.
Awesome. Mike and Max, thank you very much for sparing some time. I look forward to see you guys in States. Of course, you, Mike, with Winery Dogs, and definitely with Next to None sometime in future. Thank you very much for sparing some time. You have a wonderful evening ahead, and India is waiting for you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.